Hi friends, it's me Kate. I am here back on my mat after a long week of travel for myself. So I thought today we could do more of a travel recovery geared kind of program. In particular, I've been seated doing a lot of driving, so that means that my quads have gotten tight and the front of my hip flexors have gotten tight as well. So I'm hoping to keep this class short and sweet, but give you some poses that you can work with if you ever start to have some tightness in your front of your thighs and the front line of your body in general. I will say that I am using a different tripod today. We're back to basics with my old little small one. It looks like my regular one that I film with has been absconded by my husband, so be that as it may, hopefully I will stay in frame the whole time and we'll have ourselves a nice class. So, as always, I like to start with seated meditation. If that works for you, that's fine. I might actually, just to start opening up the front of the chest, I will offer you a different variation that you can try as well. I've also got cramps in my feet from all of this travel. It's so hard. So I'm going to grab my bolster and I'll show you how I set this up. Excuse me. So if you want to start class like me, I'm going to start reclined. So I'm going to take my two blocks and put them at the medium and the high height and set my bolster on top. And you can adjust how high your bolster is propped by how close in you bring your blocks. I'm not looking to prop it super high, so I'm going to do it like that. You can also set the edge of your bolster up against a wall, and that'll keep it from sliding away from you. So we'll get settled in for a couple of breaths. Try to relax. Because my hip flexors are so tight, I almost want to keep my legs bent, but you can see how short this distance is here. So if I want to start opening, I should at least try to straighten them out. So we take some big inhales and exhales here, breathing all the way in and all the way out to clear out any stagnant air from the lungs. And then after you take a couple of deep rounds of breath, you can allow that to relax and come back to your normal rhythm. So just notice how your breath is moving today. We're not trying to change it in any way after those big breaths. We're just taking stock of where we are. You can let the shoulders drop out to the side. So we're getting, if you're choosing to practice this posture with me, you're getting some opening up across the collarbones. And allow your breath to soften, allow your body to soften, allow your mind to soften. Notice if there are any spots where the breath doesn't quite want to reach. Maybe it's just shallow in general. We can take the opportunity to work a little bit deeper. Couple more breaths here, staying with your body, staying with your breath. When you feel ready, you can slowly begin to deepen your breath. Work your way up to seated. All right, so we're going to move our props out of the way. Just off to the side for now. We'll probably come back to them. And get started with some small stretches. So hands and knees, I always like to start with cat extended cat just to warm up the spine a little bit. Finding neutral lengthening, curling, inhaling and opening, curling from the bottom to the top, unfurling from the top to the bottom. One more time, moving with your own breath. Wonderful. So we're going to take the right foot, step it up. You might need to step your left foot back a little bit. We're not sure yet. And we're going to inhale and slowly come into a low lunge. Now we're keeping mindful that our hips are still parallel to the front of the mat. So we don't want to see this where they reach. We want to keep them nice and steady and coming forward at an equal rate. You can engage your back glute, which is going to open up the front of the hip flexor here. And we can inhale, come out, exhale, come back in. Inhale, come out, exhaling, coming back in. So moving slowly, following your breath. Being gentle to yourself. And then when you're ready, we'll place the hands down firmly and switch and do the other side. Now be mindful that if your hands don't want to reach the floor easily, you can also use blocks underneath them. So same thing, we're just going to start out by coming into our low lunge, finding our alignment, and just coming as far as we need to in order to start feeling a stretch here. So you may have a difference between sides in terms of how far forward you need to come in order to start feeling this stretch. So if you do have a difference, honor it. So you don't have to come quite so far. And just know that the more you lift up the chest, the more of a back bend you're going to feel, more of a stretch through your upper torso you're going to start feeling. Keeping the front hip reaching straight back, and then also being mindful that we're not dumping into the extended legs. We're not rolling onto the outside. We're imagining the very front part of the leg is facing directly down. And then we can breathe through it. So inhaling back, exhaling forwards, inhaling back out, exhaling back in. Moving at the pace of your own breath, forwards and back. One more. And then planting the hands firmly. We're going to lift the front foot, step it back, come back to hands and knees. Do some cat extended cats, clear that all out. We're going to try it again. A little bit of variation this time. So taking the right foot, stepping it up once more. Again, trying to keep the hips parallel as they come forwards. Then from here, wherever you are, if you have a sore knee behind you, make sure you put an extra bit of cushion underneath it. But if you can, what we're going to try to do is bend and straighten the knee behind you. Now for me, that causes some pressure across the front of my knee joint. So I like to have a little bit of lift, a little bit of extra cushion, so that I'm not grinding my kneecap into the floor. So we're just bending and straightening and being mindful that in order to achieve this, we're not popping back, okay? So we're not lifting the hips, see that? So we're keeping the hips steady where they are and just bending and straightening the leg. Couple more times, if you can. All right. And then because that was a lot of hamstring action, we'll stretch the hamstrings. So you can either come into hands and knees and stretch out the leg this way, or come straight into downward facing dog and pedal through the legs. So your choice. Just choosing a transition that works for you, your body, your energy level. Big breath in, big breath out, and then we'll switch to the other side. So this time, left foot comes forward, right knee comes down. And now same thing, we're finding our low lunge, wherever that happens to be. Keeping the front hip reaching straight back, so it's not toggling forward like that. See that? Both hips lined up. Then from here, bending and straightening the back leg. So bending it, trying to bring it in as close as it'll come. And so I can feel a big difference. I don't know if you can see a big difference, but I could feel a big difference between my two sides today. My hamstring is super tight on my right side. At least that's what it feels like. Just doing what you can. Trying to keep the hips from moving. They're definitely not lifting up and back. So you only go as far as you can. Do two more. And then come back to your neutral stretch. So whether that's bringing the front foot back so that you can then press back with the right heel towards the back of your mat, or lifting straight up into downward facing dog. Either are fine. Big inhales, big exhales. All right, so then from here, we're going to come down, and I think I'll have us all the way down onto our bellies. So actually, I might leave this here. If you have sensitive hips, so the front part of your pelvis bears a lot of weight. Sometimes it can get bruised. So we'll keep my lift underneath my pelvis just so that I have some extra cushion here on the floor. So we're going to find another hamstring strengthener. So building on what we just did, we're going to come all the way down onto our bellies. Elbows are right underneath the shoulders, and we're engaging the front line. So we're not just allowing the belly to sag down towards the floor, we're engaging it and lifting it up towards the spine. So we're going to take our left hand, replace our right elbow with it. Then we're going to bend the back leg, bring it in as close as it'll come. And without twisting the torso, so without like lifting way back here, we're keeping the shoulders forward. If you can, maybe grab your ankle. If it doesn't come in that close, just bring your ankle in as close as it'll come and keep both your hands right here underneath you. If you want to, you can use the assistance of a strap to get the back of your ankle if you would like to engage with more of a stretch. So we'll just reach back and bring the heel towards our butt. Now, if you have lots of space, like me, you might be able to reach over the top of the foot with your arm. This requires, see all of this rotation here in my shoulder with my humerus, my top arm bone reaching straight back behind me, shoulders dropping down towards the floor. So if you have a sensitive rotator cuff, this might not be for you, all right? You just keep it nice and low. But if you can reach the top of the foot here and pull it in. If you have lots of space, you can rotate the wrist with the fingers until they point forwards, but even I don't have that amount of space today. So if you have that much space, congratulations on finding that for yourself, but not me today. I'm just reaching back. And then when you're ready, we'll release, and then we'll do the other side. So this time, right elbow is underneath the right shoulder, right hand replaces the left hand. I'm going to bend my left leg, and if I can reach back without twisting my torso, I'm going to grab my foot. Now the whole time I'm pressing down into my right arm, lifting my chest away from the floor. So I'm not sinking and allowing my shoulder to come up towards my ear. Big breaths here. Feel the low ribs coming in towards the spine, pressing the pubic bone down and into the mat. And then we'll release, and we'll come all the way down to the floor, turn a cheek, roll the hips from side to side. Nice and easy. Then after all of that stretch, we'll bring our elbows underneath us, try to come up onto hands and knees, and then shift back nice and slow for child's pose. And you can leave your hands towards the top of your mat or bring them back behind you, palms face up with your fingers wrapped around the pinky toes if they reach. But it's not necessary. So choose whatever variation works for you. Arms towards the top of your mat or reaching back behind you. Big breaths, imagining you can breathe all the way across your back and even down and into the pelvic bowl. One more big breath here, all the way in, all the way out. And then we'll inhale, come up. We'll do one more forward fold, one more hip flexor, and then I think we'll wrap it up. So our forward fold is going to be Paschimottanasana, or intense western facing stretch, or simply a seated forward fold. So we're going to extend through the legs, slight internal rotation, so the pinky side edge of the feet is coming back towards us. We'll inhale, reach up with both arms, and then exhale, come forwards, and just very gentle here. So we haven't done a whole lot of hamstring stretches at all. We're not necessarily looking to get anywhere other than closing up this front hip flexor here. Big breaths all the way in, all the way out. And then we'll inhale and come up, reach up with both arms. And we're going to do final variation. So we're going to stack our blocks like how we had them with our ramp out of our bolster, like we did before at the beginning of class. And we'll see if we can do a variation. So either we're going to do the same thing you did at the beginning of class, just sitting, or let's see if I can scoot this back a little bit further. I have a little bit more room here. Perfect. Or we're going to try one more big stretch. So I'm going to put a little bit of lift underneath my hips because I know that I need it. So I have my folded up blanket. I'm going to see if I can sit down on it. I need one more fold in here. Let's see if I can get it. Here. So I'm going to sit down on my blanket. So I know I need more lift underneath my butt here so that I have the ability to rest comfortably with my knees. So some people can sit with their butt all the way down on the floor with their heels back next to their hips without a problem. For those of us with more sensitive knees that are sensitive specifically to being overstretched, lots of pressure generated here, make sure you find something you can put underneath you to give yourself a little bit more height. If you have an extra block, or like me, fold up a blanket, pillow, whatever you have, that works. So once you get settled, then we're going to lean back towards our ramp. So the ramp is there to catch us, and we'll see if we can get anywhere near it. So sometimes I have to lift my butt back up, allow my musculature to slide underneath me, and then I can try to lean back a little bit more. So we're slowly just walking the hands back, maybe bending the elbows, seeing how that feels, lifting the hips up again, and slowly seeing if we can find our way towards our props. But it's okay if we don't. We don't have to get there. We just have them there just in case. So I can tell my quads, my hip flexors, super tight because I'm not getting anywhere in this pose. Maybe you have lots of space at home, or maybe you're like me, where it just isn't quite right. Let's see if I can try that. So if you start to get a lot of pressure in your low back, come back up and out of the pose. Try to hold on to the front line here. Too far. And that will help protect the low back. And definitely try not to let your ego get in the way of this pose. So while I would like to be able to lay all the way back, it's not helpful. It doesn't serve me to put my body in that pose. I'm better suited way up here. And we'll inhale and come out whenever you're ready, and then just come into a soft child's pose. So coming all the way back down into a forward fold. You can remove the prop out from underneath you if you want. I like to leave mine there. Just shift the hips back and forth. And when you're ready, we'll inhale and come up and move the prop out from underneath us. We're going to sit all the way down. We're going to do some windshield wipers with the legs, and then it's time for Shavasana. So I'm going to sit and use my props behind me because I want a lifted Shavasana, but you can choose whatever you want. We're just going to drop the knees from side to side. Nice and easy, making sure to roll all the way onto the outer edge of your hips. Allowing the musculature there to be massaged between your skeletal system on the inside and the floor on the outside. All right, and when you feel like you have found your way through enough rotation to neutralize your low back, then we'll come into Shavasana. So whatever that looks like for you is fine. You want to take traditional Shavasana or some other variation that's your personal favorite. I'm going to use my ramp once again just because it's set up. And I think I'm going to put the soles of my feet together and allow my knees to drop out. Now, this cools my body off very quickly. So if you need to, make sure that you cover up with a blanket, especially over the core, and allow yourself to settle in. Again, taking some deep breaths all the way in and all the way out. Softening your eyes, softening your breath. Breathing through and allowing any extra tension that may be lingering to fade away. Notice if your mind wanders, what it's wandering to, and then release that thought, coming back into this moment and this place. Deep breaths all the way in, all the way out. When you feel ready, if you'd like, you can end with me. Feeling your breaths begin to deepen. Finding soft movements in fingers and toes. Wrists or ankle circles. A roll of the head. And a stretch of the arms. Whatever helps you feel at home in your body. And then whenever you feel ready, we'll slowly work our way up to seated. Taking your time. There's no rush. No place to be. So thank you very much for practicing with me. I hope this helps you feel better in your body and ready to take on whatever your day offers you. As always, thank you very much for practicing with me today. Take care. Namaste.